Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Mykela. I'm very glad to have you here on my channel. This is our third year running, so it's very exciting to do this. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today, we're going to discuss a few terms or ideas, and then we will add to your cave stories. Our first term is veracity. Veracity means conformity to facts, accuracy, or habitual truthfulness. Some synonyms are truthfulness, truth, accuracy, correctness, exactness, precision, realism, authenticity, and several more. How can we use this in our stories? Well, a lot of times people like to sugarcoat things. Idiom alert, which means they soften the truth when the truth is stark or harsh. So, do your characters want the protagonist to be straight up honest with veracity? Or do your characters want the protagonist to downplay the difficulties or dangers that lay ahead? Downplay is another idiom. If the protagonist says something close to, hey, it'll be a walk in the park and we'll be home by supper, do you think the other characters will appreciate that when events severely injure or kill one or more of the people in the group? Maybe it would be better to say something like, I don't know what will happen or if we will make it, but I'm going to think about setting the prisoners free. Or whatever the hope is for the people in that story that you are writing. Then, if you say the second thing, when something happens, the protagonist can tell the dying person, you're a hero, and I'll tell everyone of your sacrifice. Your name will go on to live forever. Whatever he wants to say or she wants to say to comfort that person that gave up their life for the cause. Now, it is easier to sacrifice when you know the cause and the hope. But that is still not veracity. So you as the writer have to decide how much truthfulness and honesty you need or you want to add. In real life, think of doctors. They may tell you that you have cancer and you need treatment, but they neglect to tell you your life expectancy. Part of that is hope helps with healing. Hope helps with healing. But also, they might be wrong, and they usually hope they are. If the doctors told the life expectancy, some people would give up. But many other people would still not believe. They would think they're going to make it anyway. So, in your stories, if your protagonist tells people they may die in battle, they may not believe. They may believe that many on their side will die, but not believe that they themselves will die. So there's a little bit of a difference there of what they would believe. Now, think of a timed mission. Veracity would be very important here. The protagonist or a leader of the protagonist side might say, after you do such and such, you will have exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds to get to the end. Or whatever you decide to set up. You can have 20 minutes, you can have 30 minutes, whatever you decide, however far they have to go to get out or what have you. You have exactly this much time to get out. I think they probably, I don't remember precisely, but in Star Wars, when Luke Skywalker was going in to shoot, they were flying through the Death Star and stuff like that. But once they hit that, whatever it was the shield on the core energy or whatever it was. I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a long time. Whatever it was that they hit, then after that crashed down or what have you, they had so much time to get out before the Death Star exploded. So that was timed. I don't know if they precisely told the time. You will have about this many minutes to get out after we accomplish the mission. But there are other things where people are setting up the C4 explosives, and they're like, sometimes they put a timer on it. Okay, we've set this to go off automatically in 18 minutes. Everybody set your watch. You know, they're setting their watch. They're coordinating with the time with each person. And then, okay, go. And they all start their watch the same time as the person pushes the timer on the C4. And so they have to get out. So on a timed mission, you have to decide what to set up. You have to decide how much time it is. But in this timed setting, Veracity would be vital. If you don't make it out before the C4 explodes or before the Death Star explodes or whatever, then you're not going to make it out. So that's just, those are vital times to have the Veracity. Now, let's look at this at a different angle. In Jurassic Park 2, Ian Malcolm had already told people with Veracity about the dangers of the dinosaurs. But still, his girlfriend, Sarah Harding, doesn't believe and doesn't listen. Ian then sets off to the island to stop Sarah from going and interacting with these dinosaurs or filming them or doing whatever she plans on doing. Thus, the second movie is born, right? He has the Veracity. He tells all about his adventures in Jurassic Park 1. And so then now we have Jurassic Park 2. Now, let's think for a minute. If you had been Sarah, would you have listened to Ian? Many of us love Triceratops and Brachiosaurus. So we may not have heeded all the danger Ian spoke about. I mean, he made it back. He went, he saw the whatever danger, but he made it back. He had a broken leg, but he made it back just fine. So we may have thought Ian was exaggerating instead of talking with Veracity. And so you can have that kind of idea. Our characters may or may not believe the veracity or the truthfulness. Our characters may or may not appreciate the veracity or the truthfulness of the situation or the possible dangers. You know, in real life, we have that all the time. You tell your kids, don't do this, don't do that. But they're like, they feel like they're immune. You know, when you're young, you can do anything. You can conquer the world, you know. So like, yeah, mom, whatever. That may be you, but it doesn't apply to me. So we can look at that in real life as well. So we are the writers, and we decide how our characters will react. It's also our job as writers to let the readers know certain things that the characters may not know, or we can keep both the reader and the characters in the dark. And in the dark is an idiom alert. Idiom alert. We're full of idioms today. Maybe your characters have no idea how bad it will be, and maybe your reader doesn't either. Like in Derek Gunn's Vampire Apocalypse, the characters didn't have any idea about vampires. They were just like non-existent almost until the vampires took over. Now, many vampires mindlessly killed many of the first people. They just ripped their heads off and threw them and, you know, sucked off the blood of the rest of the human. So they didn't know. There was no way to know until they came upon that situation. So there are a lot of situations where the veracity or the truthfulness will not be known or can't possibly be known. Another thought is you don't want your protagonist to speak with veracity without hope of prevailing. If he or she speaks truthfully but has no hope for success, then most people won't join the hero and fight. So my advice, or I think you should temper the veracity with hope. And maybe it's a hope from within that somehow the good will prevail. Somehow you will beat the odds. Now, leave a comment on if you prefer veracity or do you want hard truth sugar-coated. Now, our next term is inexorably. Inexorably means in a way that is impossible to stop or prevent. Some synonyms are ferociously, fiercely, mercilessly, relentlessly, ruthlessly, savagely, or viciously. Side note, a lot of words that end in ly, like we have here, are adverbs. And we've talked briefly about adverbs at one point. But to review, these are words that describe verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. A brief review of adverbs is that they typically express manner, place, time, frequency, degree, or level of certainty. And they answered the question of how, when, where, why, or to what extent. For example, quickly. Now that has the ly, so we know that it's an adverb. Quick would be a different form of that. I think it would be the adjective. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. Okay, so we have quickly. And we say something. How did he run? He ran quickly. So quickly modifies the run or the ran. It tells you how he ran. Okay, now back to our term inexorably. So what can we think of that is impossible to stop or prevent? What situations would we describe as inexorably? Several horror movies come to mind, and a few action films, such as Speed, the movie about the bus that couldn't slow down under 50 miles per hour or it would explode, and had to even fill the tank of gas. I'm sure they went way longer than that tank went, but they had to fill the tank of gas and everything so that they didn't have to slow down. And, that was a Sandra Bullock, I think, was in that one. And they were asking her to drive the bus. And she's like, I don't have my license anymore. And he's like, well, why don't you have your license? And she's like, I got too many speeding tickets. He's like, perfect. Drive the bus. So, I don't know if y'all have watched that movie, but anyway, it was a comedy, even though they had that where everybody on the bus could have died. Now, let's think about in nature or, real life or in nature, you could think of an avalanche or hurricane. Okay? So, with an avalanche or hurricane, that is impossible to stop or prevent. I think they're doing stuff to seed hurricanes now, so it makes them even worse. So they're not stopping them, they're enlarging them or making them worse. But anyway, I don't know how true that is. That is rumors, but seeding a hurricane and the possibilities of that are great ideas for our stories. So, anyway, we have those in real life, real nature, and you can use nature and real life stuff in your stories. I tell you that all the time. In our stories, enemies' troops could inexorably overrun a nearby peaceful kingdom. If you write science fiction, AI robots could inexorably take over and end our freedom. I mean, they could do it like just cut off all of our freedom just where we knew it, or we could go and get chips in our brain and everybody could be like, I have the latest chip in my brain, blah, blah, blah. And then some AI robot could all of a sudden reprogram your chip and you wouldn't know that they had taken over. So there are many, many situations that we could write about that would be impossible to stop or prevent. And that would bring us to our climax of our story, where the protagonist beats the odds. In I, Robot, Will Smith, they wanted everybody to have the smart cars or the electric cars or whatever, but he had a motorcycle that used gas and stuff. And so the robots that were trying to take over couldn't just kind of program the motorcycle and make him stop or whatever, but he could keep driving. And of course, at one point he had the girl with him and she's like, it's with gas? Won't it blow up? So there was all the propaganda there that gas cars and gas motorcycles would just blow up. So nobody wanted those, but the robots or the computer systems could override the smart cars or the electric cars that they had. So you have all kinds of things. And because he didn't use the electric cars, he was able to get to places and do things to save the day or beat the odds or something like that. So you have to kind of think of, if it's so impossible, what could you do to beat the odds? Leave a comment on a show, book, or movie where the situation or disease or horror seemed impossible to stop, or the weather seemed impossible to stop. And leave a comment on if you were at the edge of your seat the entire time. That brings us to our cave stories. First, remember that all works shared on the channel are copyright protected, so there is no worry. Share your works by sending in your writings to writewithmykela@gmail.com. I look forward to reading your stories and writing prompts on the channel. Now, we are on part 23. We started working on this story in season 1, episode 25. And I listed the rest of the episodes in the description below where we worked on this story. When we started, we wrote about a scary cave. And we set the mood. That was our topic for the day, was the mood. We actually wrote about a peaceful cave first, and then a scary one, to kind of see the difference in the mood, how mood changed things. So we did that. Then later we picked it up. And then we pulled out a plot. So I also listed the plot in the description below. And if you're starting today, that is perfectly fine. Go back, watch the season 1, episode 25, and see how we set up the mood. Then read the plot, start today, and then send it in for us to read on the channel. Now, those of you who have already been writing, to continue your writing on this, ask a question. Write a scene to answer it. Reread what you have written or what you wrote last time. Stop and define your characters to yourself so you know their histories and what makes him or her tick. And it doesn't have to be stopping for 30 minutes or an hour or anything like that. You could just say, okay, I have this character. I have John. And I have a friend named John. But John in my story is more like my friend Pat. Okay, was that even a minute? You can do those kinds of things in your head. You can take personalities from your friends and overlay them over your characters and just know your characters, to yourself. And how would, if Pat is John in your story, then how would Pat react to this and stuff like that? So you know their histories. You may not know all of your friends' histories, but you might. But you kind of, if you're good friends with them, you kind of know what makes him or her tick, what makes them react, what makes them relax, what makes them happy, what makes them angry. That's what I mean by what makes him or her tick, is what makes all of these emotions for them. Then, after you define your characters, ask yourself, what's the struggle? What's the outcome I'm heading toward? Have I made things too easy on my protagonist? And remember, the most important thing is to have fun with your writing. If you don't like your story, then edit it. Take out what you don't like, enhance the parts you do like. See if you can create an intriguing protagonist with an active goal or problem, some high stakes, and a ticking clock. You need those things to create a good story, along with interrelated events that build to a climax. Now, pause the video, add to your cave story, and then come back and I will read what I wrote, what I added. Okay, welcome back, writers. Now I will read what I wrote. Soon a group returned. They had gone the way Campton's group had gone before. They told of quite a lush area with trees and a pond. They initially went to where Campton had found the leaves, and then they continued. They felt with the trees they could make some makeshift shelters, and they hoped the pond might have some fish. As they were packing up to head there, Commander Nyson told Kilry that this was her chance to practice linking. Kilry started to protest, but Zalira put in, "It would be helpful to at least link with Barry, who was snake-bitten, and Jake, who has a broken leg." Several children then said they wanted to link too, especially those that had arrived with Grant's group, because the octopus stories sounded very scary to them. Missant said, "It would be better to practice linking to a lush area before we link inside Maldrake's fortress." Kilry agreed. Brambert didn't want the ladies going alone with the children, so Grant said, "They won't be alone. You will also link with a group of children, and I'll link with some supplies." That shut Brambert up because he didn't know how to link. The doctor was fairly sure she could link, especially since someone else had linked with her to the cave, and she knew what it felt like and what to expect, but she didn't know if she could bring any children. Zalira organized the original children in her group between her, Missant, Kilry, and Campton, and Grant was going to link with the children from his group if he had waited long enough between linking. "Wait a minute," said the doctor. "How long do you need to rest between? If we're thinking of linking to aid, we will need to link right back out as soon as—" She trailed off. Grant explained that he didn't know, but it seemed to take more energy and concentration to bring people or equipment, and just linking by himself was easier. The doctor looked at Kilry and said, "I think we need to link several times to learn how many times and how often we can do this before we go to Maldrake's." Kilry nodded. Jose sat near the groups. He was looking through the machine with the sample from the boar's dung and hair. He wasn't really concentrating yet, because he was curious about the linking, and he wanted to learn. The rest of the group finished packing up, but they raised up and looked at the empty space when the groups faded from sight. Brambert immediately wanted to head out to the new spot, but Commander Nyson told him to hold his horses, and it looked like Grant was with them. Commander Thurnall said, "Yes, but Jose wasn't in any circle. Where did he go?" Several shrugged. Maverick said, "Maybe we don't have to interlace our fingers like we thought." Many hoped that was the case, and they finished packing and headed out. Jose opened his eyes, and his location startled him. He was sitting on a small island in the middle of the marsh. He looked down in his lap and saw the machine with the samples he had taken. He stood up and looked around. "Holy shit! Where the F am I?" He turned full circle. "Where is everyone else?" He heard a small noise and jerked around. He saw a dolphin rise up some in the pool of water. He said, "Are you one of Maldrake's creatures?" He didn't expect an answer, but the dolphin swung his head from side to side. "Okay, no," he sat back down. "I wish you could talk and tell me where I am." The dolphin spun in a circle and made some noises. It again swung its head side to side. Jose looked north. Is Maldrake that way? The dolphin turned back and nodded his head. Jose decided he could ask yes and no questions. He wasn't sure what to ask, but they had been near the marshes in the first part of their journey. He remembered the children. He asked about them. The dolphin blew water through its blowhole. Jose took that for the dolphin didn't know. He asked if the dolphin knew if he had linked here. Again, the dolphin nodded. Jose didn't really feel like he was in reality. He knew meditation was part of the old ways. As a young boy, his mother had made him to sit to meditate often, and he had hated it. He always wanted to go out and play ball with the kids. He sighed and said aloud, "Why did I link here and not to our new place?" The dolphin blew water through his blowhole. Jose realized that he had spoken out loud. He thought for a minute and then asked, "Does linking to a place matter what you think when you're linking?" The dolphin nodded. Jose scrambled to his feet. "Holy mess! I wanted a sample of the octopus, but the bazooka didn't even take that thing out." The dolphin jumped up and dove down in the water and then came back up. Jose looked at the dolphin and looked at the machine in his hands. The machine was supposed to be waterproof up to a certain depth. He strapped it around his waist and stepped closer to the edge. He leaned over and looked at the water. He couldn't see very far. He still felt like he was dreaming and not in reality. He truly didn't want to meet the octopus, not even in a dream. He asked, "Are you sure about this?" The dolphin nodded. Jose sat at the edge of the water and slipped in. He had never swam with a dolphin before. He had seen it in a couple of movies before Maldrake took over. Besides, anything was possible in a dream, right? Jose took a deep breath and grabbed the dolphin's fin. The dolphin dove down and started swimming. Jose was amazed that he could see quite a bit underwater. The dolphin stopped near a big black spot in the water. Then the dolphin swam around it. Jose wasn't sure. This was not the octopus, but he didn't exactly want to meet up with that again. The dolphin swam around the black spot again. Jose didn't know how long he could hold his breath, so he used the machine to suck up some of the black water. He once again grabbed the dolphin's fin with both hands, and the dolphin swam up. Jose was straining for air when his head finally broke the surface. He tried to climb back on the little island, but he didn't feel any ground under the water for his feet to push against. The dolphin swooped under him and flipped him onto the land. Jose hadn't expected that, and he landed on the machine, and that hurt. But he thanked the dolphin, and the dolphin left. Jose sat with his feet crossed under himself. He had to see if he could link back to the group. Being by himself was very dangerous, unless, of course, it was a dream. If it was a dream, then he could just wake up. Jose opened his eyes and looked around. He was in the center of the strange pillars. He felt relief. At least now he knew where he was, especially since the pillars weren't common. They were unique. Jose felt he could walk to the cave from here, but he didn't want to be too far behind the group, so he tried to link one more time. Once more, Jose opened his eyes, and he was back in the cave. He was back where he started, even sitting where he had sat before. At this point, he might not have believed that he had linked anywhere, except no one was in sight, and his clothes were still wet. He felt like he knew which direction the others headed, so he stood up to walk out of the cave. Jose immediately sat back down. He felt very dizzy. He lay down on the cave floor to wait until the cave stopped spinning around him. Okay, writers, that's what I'm adding today. That's around 1,300 words. So if your goal was 500, that would surpass it. If your goal is 1,000 or 1,200, that would pass it. Now, if your goal is 1,500, you need a couple hundred more. But That's what writing is. When you get started, sometimes you just keep going, and you don't really know how many words until the end. So leave a comment on what you would have done if you had been Jose. Would you have trusted the dolphin? Would you have thought you were in a dream? Would you have felt how would you have felt when you were back in the cave and no one else was there? Leave a comment on the group leaving the cave. People need shelter about the same as they do needing water. It's very vital for survival. So would you want to stay in the cave or try to go somewhere else and put together a little shelter from some limbs or branches? Leave some comments. And you can comment on anything I don't request as well. So don't forget to send in what you just wrote for me to read on the channel. And mistakes are fine. Up there, I was using swam quite a bit, but one place said Jose saw instead of Jose swam. I think I read over it because it didn't make sense in my mind. So there's mistakes. There's going to be mistakes. So don't try to send a polished piece. Send your rough drafts, and I can read them on the channel send them to writewithmykela@gmail.com. I would love to know what you found in your caves. I'm sure it's way different than what I have, and I'm sure it's very interesting and everything. Somebody's probably a geologist, and they found some different rocks, and maybe at night the rocks came alive, or I don't know what you found. I want to know. And join me Friday for Eleni's Pride, Gaining Freedom, Chapter 24. Join me Tuesday for some jargon and Part 16 of A Down Soldier. Visit my website, bymykela.com, and read some character bios. Send your unpolished writings and chapters to writewithmykela@gmail.com. And leave comments on your favorite characters. And I'm still accepting chapters from any of the shared plots. And if you send it from like the City of the Ancients, I might be tempted to go back and put in those edits in that story that I've already talked about on the channel. So just kind of rev that one up a little bit. So that would be fun. If you hit the like and subscribe and the bell notification, then we will continue to write together, and other people will have a higher chance of finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video out to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.